emergency services are at the scene of that bus crash at the Tongaat River Bridge in KwaZulu-Natal. This is where at least 3 people have been killed and 12 others critically injured. Officials say brake failure is the cause of the crash. The R102 is still closed to traffic as officials attend to the scene. Newzroom Afrika Siletiwe in Glovo joins us now for an update. Siletiwe, we were with you throughout the morning as loved ones, as relatives and community members gathered on the top of that bridge to watch the rescue and retrieval operations get underway. We understand at this hour that all the bodies then have been extricated. What's the latest from where you are?
What we can tell you, Iman, is that there are a few people that have stated that it seems as if the bus driver was speeding, and this is the reports that we got from the KZN spokesperson in the morning. We know now that the MEC for the Department of Transport here in KZN, Siboniso Duma, has also now arrived on scene. We're told that he is going to brief us shortly about that final update, as we did state earlier on that it was a preliminary report. But from the reports or conversations that we've been getting from quite a few people, it seems as if during the first load of that bus this morning, it seems as if the bus driver was actually speeding, and this is now actually before the crash actually took place. But let me just bring in someone to speak to us more about that right now. Siyabonga kakhulu babukhuluma nathi namuhla emini. Ngicela nje to go back to your point that you mentioned earlier on. You stated that you are a traditional leader here in the area. Speak to me about what someone said to you, and this is now a woman that was in the bus during the first load in the morning.
Whilst I was helping one of the policies, metro policies, diverting the people to take other routes, not to go towards the scene. There was one lady, she was insisting of going through us. Then I said, no, you ought to listen and obey what we are telling you. She said she was in the first bus. The driver was driving reckless. He was too speedy and he can't hear from anybody. And yet he was still a new driver on the company. That is to her thoughts. That is his reckless driving is the cause of this, that the bus itself went over the bridge because he couldn't control it.
Maybe just lastly then, before I let you go, talk to me about where the bus was coming from. We're told that it's
The bus was coming from Berbris. There were workers in different factories that were in the bus, and others were going in a town. Now they ended up in hospitals, some are in mortuary. It's a pity. We are really sorry. The whole nation of Tongaat, it's in a crisis. Let the municipality play the role. Make the bridge safe, because there are numbers of incidents that took place on this bridge. Nothing has been done. Please, Metro, do something about this.
How far back can you remember some of these incidents or accidents happening? How far back can you remember? Is there an accident that recently happened? I can see that there's 2 points of impacts on the bridge. Was there another accident just recently on the bridge?
Not recently. Months back, people died. Now it's over now. It's unnecessary because we have safety engineers. They ought to play their part in this. No need of sitting in their air-conditioned offices if the public places are like this. Because if you go on the left of this bridge, there are some open gaps to the pedestrians. It's not safe. Somebody ought to play his part.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Thank you so much. That's a traditional leader that we have here in the area, Iman, and I had to cut him because the MEC is actually about to brief us.
MEC for transport in the province.
Heard about the accident and the incident earlier this morning from our effective team that went just on the ground. At this point in time, we want to be accurate on the information and ensure that we speak at the principle of preliminaries, because we remain with the sensitive matters as in the accident scene. Once you have the lost, the people, you just have to articulate what is correct and what must be also be consigned correct. At this point in time, we just want to be emphatic on that point. It's true that Metro was the first in the scene, because what we just check first is the issue of whether the vehicle or the bus was roadworthy. So I think they are with the permits, with the disc and all those things. It's something that we have to check. We must also be emphatic the point that the driver is alive, is in hospital, is also injured, is being monitored by SAPS as our normal procedure. Once there is an accident scene, once we find that the driver is alive, we must monitor the driver, because whenever we find that trouble that it was part of what we could regard as a recklessness or negligence from the side of the vehicle or the driver or the transport, then we must monitor all those processes. We can just confirm that the majority of those are still in hospital. We've been told others already have been released. So it's something that is painful and tragic at this point in time. The mechanical failure is at the top of the edge of what we are told about. Surely you might have heard through different perceptive analysis that yes, there must be a brake failure, there must be something else. At this point in time, we just want to cover that outlook and the outrage. And at a correct time, it means that we must come completely, and I'll give you the accurate analysis. RAMS has already taken on the scene what is the observatory status in terms of the technique. They are just going to give us proper at the end when the truck or when the bus has been taken. So it would be better that we do that. But at this point in time, we want to thank you for ensuring that we do this coverage. We are glad at this point in time that the neighbors are also assisting. From here, we're just then going to check these families and later on probably go to and check to the hospital so that we ensure that almost everyone is covered by this scenario. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, maybe we would take a few questions. Start with ENCA.
Thank you very much, Tom Bedi. The suspicion is that this was caused by brake failure. And I guess surely much more needs to be done in enhancing issues around those kind of things, ensuring that bus companies, public transporters do maintenance work of such vehicles like this particular bus. So what plans can you speak to from the department's end in ensuring that these bus companies are complying in terms of, as I said, taking these cars for regular checkups? And just a second and last issue, the community here is saying it's not a first that such has happened where a vehicle has gone through these railings, and they are asking if maybe these railings can be relooked, maybe a concrete wall could be built as opposed to having these current railings. Could you also just speak to that particular issue? Thank you.
Let me thank and direct response on that one, that the department procedural, whether it's a truck, whether it's a vehicle, the registration goes past to the department, which is why we've got almost way bridges in the entire province of KwaZulu-Natal. Before the bus is on the road, it must be roadworthy, it must be given the permit just to be on the road, and on a regular basis whenever there's a time, because that is why you'll find that the RTI on the road will be checking those things. So we do take that as part of PRE. It's what we do on a regular basis. It's unfortunately that others, you'll find that on the road they do operate without permit, then we have to take them and arrest those people. I'm sure you've seen that in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we've got less of those at this point in time. We are just going to do the observation that engineering department is going to come at the level of the bridge. Remember, these bridges were built at this point in time. We do have a backlog, but we might probably take that option, but first check the spanner, the strength of the bridge on its own at this point in time, so that when we do that, we know that it is the correct procedure. Yes, but we do normally follow what is the prescript of what they want, but after the engineering specification, so that when we do something that is everlasting. But the road is smooth, the road is visible. That is why I'm saying that there are different perceptions. Others were saying that there was an overtake that was taking place. At this point in time, we just want to follow all those processes. Yeah, so the department is going to follow all those processes.
A follow-up question from ENCA.
Sort of follow-up, pardon me, colleagues. Just to ask MEC, you spoke about the fact that the driver is alive in hospital, being monitored by police. Are we perhaps looking at the potential of charging him at some point with culpable homicide?
In fact, there is a case law already that if we could just check, if we could validate after the evidence, it's not even a culp, it will be a proper process that we are charged with murder. That's what we are doing at this point in time. Once we ascertain that the recklessness from the bus company and the driver murder is what we want to envisage, because we can't have our people being lost on the ground, losing life as a result of failure from those who are greedy, from those who are not complying and adhering with the prescript of the law. So we are going to check. We're not just going to declare from a culp at this point in time. After the inquest, they will just then tell, so they're going to dictate it properly. So which is why we are clear that monitor the process. At the end of the day, do what is correct in terms of the case law.
Thank you very much. Newzroom Afrika.
Firstly, the preliminary reports that we received in the morning stated that 12 people were seriously injured. Is that what we are still looking at? I know you said some have been discharged from hospital, some are still in hospital. So are we still on 12 seriously injured and 3 fatalities? Are we still looking at that preliminary report? And then also, you just now spoke about the charges. A few people are talking about how the driver could have possibly been speeding, and that's what we were told in the morning by your spokesperson when we arrived. Maybe just to elaborate on that.
Okay, thank you so much. In terms of the charges, as already highlighted, that the normal procedure, the culpable homicide, it is as a result where you didn't foresee the consequence of the harm, you didn't have control, but we are saying that there is a case law already in the country that if you've contributed deliberate on the accident, you must not be charged with culpable homicide, because usually you arrive at the destination of a lesser sentence. But if it's a murder, then you know that.
All right, the KwaZulu-Natal Transport MEC there, Siboniso Duma,